Hey, Joey Without House Saloon here for another Charlotte FC match reaction video. Today I'm joined by my co-host Andrew and special guest Greg. He is an Atlanta United fan, and we've asked him to come on and share some of his thoughts about the Charlotte FC's victory over Atlanta. Greg, how are you?
I'd be better if it was an Atlanta United victory, but I'm here either way.
Oh wait, what? Oh man, I'm sorry. Kind of a glitch there. I don't know what happened. Hopefully we'll get that figured out. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
Good.
Good.
That was a mighty fine glitch there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. Things just going haywire. But anyway, before we get started, I just want to set the stage with the lineups. Now, Charlotte lined up in what they will call a 4-1-3-2, which is actually really a 4-4-2 diamond. But we had Kalina in goal, a back four of Jalen Lindsay, Guzman Corujo, Christian Fuchs, Joseph Mora, a midfield four of Brant Bronico, Alan Franco, Jordi Alcivar, Benjamin Bender, and a front two of Daniel Rios and Karol Swiderski. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to go through the full Atlanta United lineup. Honestly, I don't really care. Greg, is there anything you'd like to add or comment on about it?
Well, you should care. You should care now. The couple of things that stand out to me when you look at this lineup is, Dom Dwyer at the top is become, the MLS journeyman that seems to have had one goal in, I think, like 3 years now. So, woo, we'll take that. But it's hard when you're used to the production of Joseph Martinez, and then you get Thiago Almeida's new in the squad, didn't have a lot of training camp, working his way in. If memory serves, I think this is his first full 90. I think it was his second start, if memory serves me well. And then Santiago Sosa is just coming back from fitness, coming in from a recently injured other player. So while this should be a good Atlanta United team, there's still some pieces we clearly need to work out, as evidenced by your glitch earlier.
Yeah. So, of course, the star, Joseph Martinez, was out for this match. What's interesting is that, obviously you're having trouble scoring without him. But I found out that you guys have a goal differential with him in the squad of plus 95 and without minus 15. That is awful. But before the match, I had obviously known that he was the star player and you guys would probably suffer without him. But I did not realize that it was that impactful for him to be in the squad. Pretty incredible. All right. Now I'd like to move on to the single scoring play. Oh, there it goes again. Oh, come on. But that leads us into Jordi Alcivar's goal from a direct goal from a corner in Olympico, if you will. What's interesting about this is it had an XG of 0.01. For those of you that are not familiar with that, that means it was only expected to score that one time out of every 100. Just unreal. So far this season, Charlotte's had a few goals like that. The one other standout was Andrew, what was it, like a 0.04 from Swiderski?
Mm-hmm. Yep, in the Cincinnati match.
Yeah, just unreal. Honestly, we probably need to do better. And we'll discuss this a little bit further, but we had some chances going forward that we just couldn't get the final pass right, or missed the missed target or whatever. But we'll get into that. Another thing to note about this goal is we got the corner because Bender held the ball up in the corner. He was being defended by two Atlanta United defenders, and he did a great job to keep control of it just long enough for Swiderski to get over there to help. And then between the two of them, they were able to force a corner, which obviously led to the goal. Greg, anything you want to mention about it?
I got a thought on the goal, or a couple thoughts on the goal. Some I can't say that anybody's recording, but the one thing I'll say before I dive into that for just a second is I was really impressed with Bender. He kind of stood out when we played the first time, and I was like, all right, this guy's he's young, he's good, super draft, all right, cool. he jumped off the screen in this. This was, if teams aren't paying attention to him, if Charlotte fans don't know him, y'all need to pay attention. He is putting in the work. He is showing up all over the field, and he's causing trouble for some really good, defenses. And not that Atlanta United necessarily falls into that, but keep in mind, Miles Robinson's arguably the locked-in starter for the U.S. national team, and he struggled with Bender at times because he's constantly moving. He was always finding the right. So I was really impressed with Bender. So you're right, that play alone, it shows you that those little things can add up, right? And, I will say on the goal itself, I'm like the only guy in the world that's thinking the opposite of what everybody's saying. So it has to be a great strike to do what Alcivar did. It absolutely does. All the credit to him. That should not be a goal. I'm sorry. Guzan's got to catch that. The dude's 6'4", 6'5". And I think Taylor Twellman mentioned it on the broadcast and did a great job calling this out because I actually played goalie for quite a while. And Rios, second striker's Rios, right? Yep. Rios was all up on Guzan the whole time. And I promise as a keeper, that is one of the most annoying things you can have happen to you. You're trying to get your defense organized. You're trying to call out runners. You're trying to watch for the ball. You're trying to do all this. And then you've got a guy that's kind of casually digging his elbow into your ribs and won't let you move the direction you want. It puts a lot of just kind of mental load on the keeper that makes it difficult to really kind of take away, right? And you've got to give it to Alcivar. He had a heck of a shot, put it exactly where he needed it to be. But, I got to say it's probably a third Alcivar, a third Rios, and then unfortunately a third Guzan kind of maybe sort of being over the polar bear hill there that he's getting to be. So it is what it is at this point. But it was nice. It really was.
Andrew, what do you think of Guzan in general? Not necessarily in this goal in particular, but overall.
I think Greg was summing it up there at the end. He's kind of getting up there. And I don't know, I don't know the Atlanta United team. I don't know if you're bringing along your second choice keeper, if you have anyone in the system. Looks like from the action, no. So you might be stuck with him for an extra few years or buy someone. You guys buy a lot of players, so potentially buy a goalkeeper.
Funny you mentioned that. Hold on, let me just pull this up real quick. I want you guys to just take a look at this. This is what the club has basically have in player values. And look at the top right up there. You have Atlanta United just blowing everyone else out of the water. Whereas Charlotte FC, we're way down here, lowly expansion team. And what's interesting about that is this value doesn't actually reflect what Charlotte actually spent to get all of these players. We didn't actually pay a lot of money for most of them. But Almada, he cost more than the entire Charlotte lineup that we purchased. So that's interesting. Whoops. Let me get this out of here.
Yeah, Joe, you stole one of my points.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up both of those points exactly and not to jump ahead, but that's one of the reactions for me that Atlanta seems to always have the talent, the pieces, and the money behind it. It's, can we get it in gear, right? And it's hard to watch. And heck, as Charlotte fans new on the scene, you beat us. You definitely deserve to rub that in our face. And most of the rest of the league certainly does as well. I think half the league, if I looked at that, did the math that right, half the league's market value was less than the distance between Atlanta and the second place team too. It's not even like it's close first to second. It's like half the league. You can put the second place team and half the rest of the league together, any other teams, and they're going to still be less than Atlanta. And it's hard to see. And I do think Almada showed in this one, he's got the talent, but this is where, and I know it's playing into the Charlotte fans' favor here, and I don't want to hype you guys up too much, but that was a very practical match in my book. So that's kind of what you need. Don't make the big mistakes. Don't screw up too terribly much. And, all you need is one or two good moments, and that's what you had.
Yep. So we're already kind of getting into this, but I'll just go ahead and give my immediate post-match reaction. So immediately I was like, awesome. We have a third win. It's our third home win as well. It's amazing. Our first ever win over Atlanta United. Super happy. The fans absolutely love the club. Miguel Ramirez, coach, said that the fans had a profound impact on the second half and kept the squad pushing. And then on top of that, the official attendance was 32,496. And, I've been thinking back on just, me becoming a fan of soccer and, spectating the sport and everything. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, even, I never would have imagined that Major League Soccer could pull this much attendance from clubs. The sport's obviously growing. I love it. And, there's a long way to go, but I think the future is bright. Also, that win puts us in fifth place in the East, just 1 point behind Atlanta. There's a huge caveat, though. Most clubs are still a game behind, so we are, a game ahead, and that's great for an expansion club. But there's a lot of Charlotte fans getting way overly hyped about this. They need to just keep in mind that we are riding a hot streak right now, and it's possibly going to end at some point. And then on top of that, we did not bring out the back five formation again. I'm extremely happy about that. I do not want to see that ever again. I mentioned previously that I think it technically could work, but I don't even want to try it. I don't want to see it. And then the first half, I think Charlotte was pretty dominant. It was a little dicey at the beginning up until the Alcivar goal. And then, we pulled one of these things. Oh, we're screwed. No, never mind. But we had some great open field play. I mentioned earlier, we probably should have produced some more goals. Often failed to turn breakaways into big chances. And, that'll be an issue going forward. I think a lot of that has to do with we don't have the breakout speed that a lot of other clubs do. You mentioned Bender and how just incredible he seemed to be. The one thing he lacks is that just true speed to get past people. He has all these nifty little tricks and, can pull off amazing crosses, but he just doesn't have that speed. When we see Kamil Jóźwiak come in, that should help a lot, but, that's still to be seen. Our back line is still iffy. We're still not fully gelling yet. I'm definitely worried about handling teams with speed, especially Philadelphia Union. They have speed all over the pitch, and they will happily sit back and just wait to ping a ball over the top. The back line actually performed better than they did against Union. This time, they only lost possession 44 times as opposed to 61 versus Union, which is awful considering we had control of the ball most of the time against them. And then then as far as the second half goes, I'd say it started pretty well for Charlotte. However, Atlanta seemed to finally really grow into the match. And then as the subs came on, you guys seemed to take control. Now, maybe part of that was because Charlotte, we were just resigned to holding on to the win rather than pushing for, an insurance goal. Either way, I still would have, liked to see some more effort put into it. And that's it for me. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, I think you hit a lot there. And I got to say that I think first thing worth mentioning is really Charlotte does look good. One of the things that I was very impressed with is it seemed like Charlotte knew what they wanted to do for the most part. They knew where they were going to have the runs playing. I do like what Miguel Ramirez is doing there. It seems kind of saw it in the first match, and this one it seemed like he kind of learned and applied a few things, knowing what we were going to try to do. So I was very impressed with how that worked out, especially given how little time in the grand scheme that Coach Ramirez has had with all of his guys. But from the Atlanta side, it was hard to watch. You brought up expected goals on the Alcivar goal, but actually Atlanta had a higher XG across the match. It was what I think I saw 1.3 and versus 0.9. And there were probably at least 2 goals that you would expect either one of those kind of sort of should have gone in. One, the Charlotte keeper saved. The other was ever so slightly just wide on a Caleb Wiley header. And, Atlanta, for everything, is kind of, you're talking about speed is that kind of missing element, right? And it seems like Atlanta has pretty much everything there, but it's that last piece, that last kind of idea of what we're going to do. And it seemed like, so as we were going forward, we kind of would stop. There was a lot of kind of odd, like 1v1, or even in some cases up to like 1v3 situations. You'd have somebody run up, dump the ball to Marcelino Moreno and run off, which of course Charlotte loves, right? You get to get back behind the ball and you're like, okay, we dare one guy who's not that fast to run through 3 defenders and we have everybody else marked. Like, of course they're going to do that. But some reason Atlanta did that a lot, which of course plays into what Charlotte wanted to do. And so for us, that was a little bit difficult, but it is still somewhat optimistic, I'll say, trying to be a glass half full guy here, that, we did make changes. The changes, like you said, with the subs, that's one thing I got to give Pineda, the Atlanta United manager, Gonzalo Pineda, give him credit for, is he made subs. He shifted it up tactically. He's not afraid to bring in unproven young guys to give them a run out to say, show me what you got. One of those is 17-year-old Caleb Wiley, who's kind of the next left back of the future, so to speak, for Atlanta United, following in the footsteps of somebody like George Bello. That he came in, he had a really good look on goal, almost had a header, I think around the 87th, 88th minute, thereabouts. And so there were some positive signs there, but Atlanta United, the past few matches, for those of you that haven't seen, we've won a lot on last-second heroics, we'll call it. I think it was the past 3 matches we have scored a goal in stoppage time of the second half.
So just to give everyone a little reference, 5 of Atlanta's 10 points were earned beyond the 90th minute. That is absurd.
Yeah, and which is great because that shows you that Atlanta United's trying, right? They're going to the final whistle, which is awesome. But if you have the talent to do that, you have the effort there. Why is it not always showing up elsewhere? So I do like some of the things there, but this is just a case of what we tried to put out, and the squad we put out just weren't quite ready for what Charlotte was ready to bring. And I feel like Charlotte was more organized. And at the end of the day, it was, the subs just didn't make quite enough of an impact. So I do think even with the expected goals, the way they were, Charlotte probably deserved to have the win there. If you could find a way to have like a 1-1 draw, but Charlotte gets 3 points and Atlanta gets 1 or something, like that's kind of what the match felt like. But overall, it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, we're terrible, like Atlanta's earlier loss to Colorado earlier in the season. But we're a very different team away from home, and that's something I think a lot of fans need to kind of grasp, is away matches, in professional soccer, you're hoping for 1 point generally. If you get 3, awesome, but you're hoping for that 1. And we weren't ready for it yet, but Charlotte did their job. They got 3 at home, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next rematch.
Yep. And Andrew, I know you're not the biggest MLS or Charlotte fan, but
nope,
you're kind of forced to cover it because I'm here. What did you think?
Greg, you touched on a lot of points, and I like statistics, love statistics, like to bring them up. But some of our audience is kind of new, but on the expected goals, I mean, statistically, Atlanta was hard done. They should have won the match. They didn't. Soccer isn't just statistics. It's kind of, what do you see with your eyes? Does it match statistics? But even with that 0.9, Charlotte's expected goals, they were only, expected to get 0.75. So they ended up getting 1. You guys had a 1.3, and oddly enough, your expected goals was 1.3, which is probably why Kahlina was the man of the match, for Charlotte. Like he deserved it. So, and then your second point, winning away, I think that's where Charlotte fans need to understand a tie is good. We have not even gotten a tie yet. That's the next step Charlotte needs to take, is to produce away, because right now they only produce at home. Were they unfortunate at Atlanta, the first matchup? Yeah, that was a little heartbreaking because I thought they had the tie till the very end. Yeah. But in general, they don't show up when they go on the road. So that's like in the growth of the team, that's their next step. They need to learn to do this away from home because, like you said, the crowd helps you out. As the manager said, the crowd helps you out. And you can't rely on that all the time. So as they age, grow together, come together, get more experienced players, you hope to see those away ties rack up, maybe a win every now and then versus Inter Miami, some of the really bad teams. We'll see how long David Beckham, sticks with the coach down there. Oh, I forget the guy's name. But old Manchester United guy. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Neville.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if he gets the first sack. But, those are the teams you're looking to potentially first tie, then beat. I mean, Atlanta, I'm sure you guys are looking to go, like, smash them, with your squad. And hopefully your squad gets fully fit because right now the injuries you're dealing with puts you guys at a disadvantage. I mean, when you spend all that money, you want to make sure you're getting all your money's worth. So.
All right. One last thing I just want to say about the match is at least we don't have to deal with this.
See, he did try to tip it over the bar. He just tipped it into the goal. So,
yeah.
For being like 6'5", come on, man. Telling you, got to do a little bit better on that.
So I have a son who's 8, and for his last birthday, he was asking for goalie gloves. And I was like, I'll get him, but you have to try. But now I'm like, just don't be like that guy. All right. And last couple little questions. One thing I noticed was that a lot of times you guys would get a hold of the ball and start to move forward. And you were kind of alluding to this a little bit. But then you guys would just stop and just like start playing the ball kind of side to side. Is that normal, or was that just something that just happened to pop up this match?
It's more normal than I think most Atlanta fans would like it to be, right? That's something that was very indicative of I'll say a couple of managers ago. For those of you that are just kind of getting into MLS and getting into, Charlotte and Atlanta's history or anything like that. While Atlanta's isn't very long, we've had a couple of rough years the last few years, given the expectations. And a couple of years ago, we fired a manager who had actually won us 3 different trophies. And it was some very ugly soccer. They were not playing very well, but we were finding ways to win. And that was something he seemed to instill in the team. And weirdly, that we can't seem to shake that. We've changed managers, I think, 3 times since then. Had interim managers, almost totally turned over the squad. Somehow we can't seem to get away from, we get the ball up. We've got maybe not like a numbers advantage, but at least even. And we stop and we play it back real fast. Not like pull your head up and figure it out. We stop and just immediately play it back, which it kind of kills your momentum. As a fan, it's really heartbreaking. As an opposing fan, you're like, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing? So, yeah, it's more common than we would certainly like it to be, but so many Atlanta fans, I think, are certainly clamoring for that, 2017-18, I'll say style of just going for the throat on every play. Every time we get into the final third, we want to score and we act like it. And that's just not there yet. We hope to get there.
All right. Outside of Ben Bender, who you already mentioned, is there anyone that you like to watch or were impressed by for Charlotte?
What's the keeper's name again?
Kalina.
Yeah, Andrew, you hit that one well. Like he had a few saves that I didn't think he was going to make. Actually, the one shot that I think had the highest XG that from Moreno, it was a well-worked ball. Almeida set it up. Andrew Gutman, Atlanta United's left back, played it. Like, it worked out beautifully. And then Marcelino Moreno put it actually exactly where he probably should have. And Kalina just made a great save. So there's a couple of those. So Kalina, I thought, really impressed me. And then there was one of the defenders had a few really nice dispossessions that stood out. And apologies, the name's escaping me. I looked up other names before this, but not this guy.
Yeah. Quick on Kalina, he's still just a pure great shot stopper. Previously, he had some issues with having some gaffes, and I'm glad that didn't come up. He played the ball, just kicked it away if he was ever in the slightest bit of trouble. But then he also kept his composure and played it out the back and didn't just get overly wanting to get rid of the ball, which I thought was nice. And as far as his stopping goes, he made 6 saves, and 5 of which were from inside the box. So that performance is way more than I could ever ask for. He is awesome. I'm glad we have him. Definitely one to look out for. And Andrew, I saw you laughing up there. What was that about?
I just whenever he has the ball at his feet and plays out of the back, just don't pass it to the defender right in front of you and let a goal in. He's been known to do that once this season, so as long as he doesn't do it again, we'll let it slide.
Yep. All right, now let's move on to what's next for the clubs. Next week, Charlotte is at the New England Revolution. It's our second match against them. New England will definitely want to, I guess, get some revenge. They really didn't look that great, and I think they're actually winless. I don't even know if they have points, but they definitely don't have a win yet this season. They have a decent quality squad, but so far this season, it's just not their year. Unless something changes, I believe that we should get a result. And then Atlanta United, they are hosting FC Cincinnati. I don't know. Do you know what the timetable on, Martinez and some of your other injuries is to come back?
Oh, that's actually a very timely question. Darren Eales, the president of Atlanta United, was on a local Atlanta sports radio show today, and he had mentioned that he's hoping to have Joseph back by the end of May. I believe he technically said the back end of May, but he's also British, so I wonder if that just means the end of May. But so that's Joseph. Then the other kind of key one that I think a lot of people on the Atlanta side are looking forward to is Luis Araujo. And he is one of our third, really. I mentioned Thiago Almeida, Joseph Martinez, and then Luis Araujo is our third designated player. And he has actually been out since the first game of the season, where he scored a goal, and as he's running off the field celebrating, starts grabbing his hamstring. And you're like, awesome. Thanks. So really looking forward to that. But I think he just started training with the team in the last few days. So hopefully they're able to start working him up to match fitness in the coming weeks. And maybe a few matches from now, he's able to kind of get back to starting. But lots of other injuries, but those are the 2 big ones that I think most Atlanta United fans are really kind of keeping an eye on and looking forward to.
Okay. Now, that being said, ever since Cincinnati joined the MLS in 2019, they've pretty much been at the bottom of the table. It looks like it's going to continue that way. Really, Atlanta shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. If Cincinnati does pull off a result, I think that would be huge for them, and I imagine you would be quite disappointed.
I would be crushed. I'll be at the game. Got the babysitter coming to watch the kiddo, so I can be at the game. I've got the expectations of getting the 3 points there with the win. But no, you're exactly right, Joey. It's not something that we should even have to discuss, right? Like, this should be one of those in a lot of other leagues around the world. You say, listen, you can almost just check the box almost every time. But, there's always something there with MLS. That's one of the things that makes the league so exciting. The best team isn't always going to play the best every single time. And, I think two of the players that Atlanta United is keeping an eye on are Brandon Vasquez, who last I saw, I think is tied for the Golden Boot race already, who is a former Atlanta United player that we let go in the expansion draft to Cincinnati because we left him unprotected by Austin, and I think they traded him to Cincinnati. And then Alec Khan, who is, Andrew, to your point, the goalkeeper we were grooming, and then we couldn't keep him under contract. And Cincinnati came in and basically said, hey, we'll give you a contract and you get to be the starter. So, yeah, we should be getting the 3 points, but there's going to be some familiar faces that'll be nice to see. And it's going to be a disappointing day if we're not walking away with smiles on our faces.
Yeah, you mentioned, clubs around the world not really having to deal with losing matches like that. Well, I'm a Chelsea fan who just happened to, be a week and a half away from an awful loss to Brentford where we just got walloped. And, so I'm aware of what can happen. Andrew, any last minute thoughts for you?
No, I think you covered it up. Greg, my final question to you, since you guys are one of the more recent expansion teams in 2017, early in the season, do you see any parallels between that Atlanta team and the Charlotte team?
Yeah, a little bit. I think on the field, there's, some comparisons on just kind of the little bit of the inconsistency. There seemed to be a time or two where players were making runs and other guys didn't necessarily know where they were, things like that. So there's a lot of motioning there. But, overall, it also feels familiar to Atlanta because I think the expectations are kind of high. And, for as much talk as Atlanta gets, we didn't win our first match. we lost to the Red Bulls. So we actually got a red card in that match too, because one of our players kicked a guy laying on the ground, which was awesome. So thank you, Carlos Carmona. Anyways, I think that's what jumps out to me, Andrew, on the field. And off the field, the excitement really seems to be there. I certainly wasn't able to make it to the stadium or anything like that. I was still here in Atlanta. But it really looks like the fans are really bringing that atmosphere and bringing the culture. Joey, you mentioned, 30+ thousand fans. Not many other cities are doing that a lot. Now, some of us are pulling in 42 plus when half the stadium's open and mid 70s every time it opens, low 70s, because I think y'all are the only one that hit the mids. But there's a lot there. There's a lot of excitement. And I think, guys like y'all, people, that are the other rest of the Charlotte fan base there, doing an awesome job kind of showing what to the world, not just MLS, but to the world, what Southeastern United States has to offer in terms of soccer and fandom and passion.
Yeah, if we can even get some of that enthusiasm that's behind college football, man, that could be amazing.
I will say if Charlotte will have a great future if Swiderski is half the striker Martinez was when you guys got him. I mean, that would solve so many problems. And I mean, you guys have been lucky to hold on to him. I know he's been talked about in other leagues, unfortunate injury history probably scuttled that, but that was a great beginning move for your club, just to have.
All right, well, that does it. Again, thank you, Greg, for joining us. And then any of you at home, if you have any thoughts on Charlotte FC's first ever victory against the Atlanta United, make sure to comment below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. And then another note, we plan on hosting a few watch-alongs for Charlotte FC along the season. We don't really know exactly which ones we'll be doing yet, but make sure you keep an eye out for those. And then lastly, this coming Saturday morning, we will be hosting a watch-along for the Spurs match. I forget, who are they playing again?
Brighton.
Yeah, so Tottenham versus Brighton, 7:30 Eastern. Make sure to tune in for that. And then from all of us here, me, Joey, Andrew, and special guest Greg, thank you, and have a good one. See you all later.